Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name is Lisa Elvin Staltari, and I'm a genealogist and a passionate traveler. Over the last few years, I've been featuring each Vijayawar King's daughter and getting to know their stories a bit better. There are over 700 of them. Today, we're doing episode 233, so you do the math. But before we begin, let me show you ways you can support the channel. The first three keep you in the know: subscribe, like, and notify. The next three are ways to help the channel grow. Ko-fi and Patreon are standalone platforms where you can donate $1 or up to $25 a month. And also we have our PayPal, which is on my website, Have Roots Will Travel, where you can click and donate what you would like. So to all of you who have done so, thank you so much. Your support means the world to me. So let's get started and get to know our fée du roi of this episode. Today's episode is 233, Catherine Guyard, and she is a viewer request. I did look in my files, and I did have her as one of my dear friend's husband's great-grandmothers. So that's interesting for me to kind of link that up. Just wanted to have a shout-out to my friend so she can alert her husband. So Catherine was born in 1639 in Paris, France. Her parents were Louis Guyard and Madeleine Van. Now, she is born in the 10th arrondissement. Remember that arrondissement means circle, and you can see that Paris is laid out in the circular fashion. She is actually part of the Saint-Denis Faubourg neighborhood, which is what Faubourg means. The church where she would have been baptized dates back to at least 583, when it was a chapel. There has been a church here since at least the 12th century. The one we're seeing in this picture dates to 1429 and, of course, has been renovated several times. Saint-Laurent was the parish church of Saint Vincent de Paul from 1632 to 1660. This 10th arrondissement, which is called Entrepôt as well, is situated on the right bank of the River Seine and contains two of Paris's 6 main railway stations, La Gare du Nord and La Gare de l'Est. The 10th arrondissement also contains a large portion of the Canal Saint-Martin, the St. Martin Canal, linking the northeastern parts of Paris with the River Seine. So really kind of a picturesque, very, very central kind of place. Despite the fact that it's the 10th arrondissement, you can see those circles lend itself very well to being part of the connection that is Paris. It's all interconnected. We do not know anything about whether or not her parents had passed on. We don't have a dowry amount for her, but we do know that she traveled on the Jean-Baptiste de Dieppe on June 18, 1665, and arrived in New France. The groom that she would select and who would select her, his name was Antoine Baudry de l'Épinette. He was born in 1629 in a commune called Chenery-en-Charny in France. His parents were Marie Baudry and Jeanne Pommière. Now, Chenery-en-Charny is found in the Pays de la Loire region and is found in the Sarthe département or county. The town has been populated by turns by the Gauls, the Celts, and the Romans. It develops, especially in the Middle Ages, around the river, the Belay, which allows commercial exchanges with the surrounding towns and the cities. By 1109, Raoul VII built the Benedictine Abbey, of which the chapel remains today. During the First World War, many young citizens of this town went to the front. Many of them would lose their lives, as you can tell by the war memorial located at the square in the town. During the Second World War, the village experienced occupation and especially Allied bombings shortly before the liberations. So this is a town that knows very well the perils of war. And I believe that Antoine has that kind of DNA in his blood, and probably through his descendants as well. So Antoine would decide to become one of the engagés in the Grand Recrue that Champmedy, and who came, Paul de Champmedy, who was the governor of Montreal at the time, and he also recruited Marguerite Bourgeois, and he recruited about 100 people to try to save Montreal, because obviously Montreal was not really becoming anything. It was dying, and they needed people to create what would become Montreal, and that is what the Grand Recru. And you can see on the picture on your upper left, I've circled his name. His name is on that famous plaque. And in a long time, he came to Montreal in 1653. He did not get married until the 24th of November, 1665, when he married Catherine Guyard to form a family. So let's talk a little bit about Montreal. It started off as Ville-Marie by the founder, Paul de Chaumédy, who established it in May of 1642, largely as a missionary center. But the colony would not thrive, and that's why that Grand Recru, of which Antoine is part of, would establish Montreal. It saved Montreal, actually. In 1653, the Notre Dame Congregation that Sister Marguerite Bourgeois established was ultimately the very first church of Montreal, and she established the schools, and they just really built it from nothing. And for many years during that period, the people of Trois-Rivières and Quebec City were kind of like, what is this place on an island, And ultimately, Montreal would have the last laugh, because obviously being so strategically placed in the river meant that the merchants and the ships could pass, it became what it became, the mighty Montreal, and the international city that it is today. But it might not have been were it not for the brave people of the 1653 Grand Recru and Paul Chaumédy and Marguerite Bourgeois. They all contributed to the success of what you now know as Montreal. They would go on to have 5 children. Jean would die sometime after the 1681 census. We have Catherine, who would marry Pierre Thibault, and have 14 children, 10 of whom would make it. Pierre would die at birth. Jeanne would marry Léonard Libercin, and they had 9 children, 3 of whom survived. Jean would die at the hands of the Iroquois at the age of 11. There are no death records for either Antoine or Catherine. They are present at the marriage of their daughter Jeanne in 1703, and it states that they are living at Rivière-des-Prairies. This would make them each 64 and 74, respectively. I want to give you some more information on Catherine and Antoine. We have Les Filles du Roi, Pionnières de Montréal. I've listed the link to that. They are mentioned in there. And Susan McNally's excellent book, The Women of Ville-Marie, is just a phenomenal book. Even if you are not a descendant of this couple, I urge you to get on Amazon and purchase this book. It really is an amazing, amazing study of Montreal at the time, and the contribution that the women made to the involvement of Montreal. So I urge you to check that out if you can. And here are some other resources you can use. We have La Société des Filles du Roi, Quebec Genealogical E-Society, Nos Origines, Wikitree, the Facebook group for Filles du Roi descendants, Généalogie Québec, and Société d'Histoire des Filles du Roi. All of those are amazing, amazing resources for you to have a look at and continue your research. And so ends episode 233 for Catherine Guyard and Antoine. They were one of the founding pioneers, really, of Ville-Marie, Montreal. And I always love exploring. I spend a lot of time researching Quebec and all the other areas. And it's always a thrill when I get to see the Montreal and the Ville-Marie pioneers. And so, although they did not leave us with a lot of descendants, by 1729, we had 54 descendants from this couple. But somehow the line has flourished because my viewer is a descendant. So they live on. They live on. So we want to thank Catherine for her bravery, for her courage, for going to a place where it wasn't very well regarded, for sure. And she was brave and managed to build a life and create a legacy. So we are grateful for her contribution, and we bless her memory. I also want to say thank you to my patrons and supporters. I bless and thank each one of you. You keep me going. Your patrons, supporters, and subscribers, you're all amazing, amazing to me. And I'm so grateful when you write and when you contribute. I appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Until I see you on episode 234, au revoir.